Yeah, hi, it's Ted Lowe here with Guitar Girl Magazine. We have a great honor and privilege to sit down with Andy Powers of Taylor Guitars. Excited to talk to you about some of your latest innovations, in particular one we're going to be talking about and listening to. Yeah, we just thought we would have a good conversation about how you came about with the new bracing system. I believe you call it the V-Class bracing system.
Yeah, we call it V-Class bracing because, honestly, when you look at the inside of the guitar, it looks like a giant letter V. You know, it's creatively named, I guess.
So is that where the idea came from?
No, it's actually it's a bit longer story than that. But you know, as Taylor Guitars, we always want to be doing a better job building a guitar. You know, it's like playing the guitar itself or being a musician. You know, you always want to be improving what you do.
Yes.
So for most musicians, there's the set of music you practice and the stuff you perform. And the stuff you practice is always a little harder than what you can really play.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the way it is with guitar making.
Right.
Is I'm always trying to work on what can I do better? What can make a more creative, more expressive or dynamic instrument for a player?
Right. Well, there's a term called continuous improvement, and so that's like a never-ending process. And you get to a point when you have a company like Taylor Guitars and the perfection that you guys have, achieved. How do you just continue to improve on that? What gave you your basic idea on this bracing?
You know, it's kind of like there's a gentleman I know named Paul Akers who's a real big advocate for the idea of continuously improving everything you do, and he's got a really simple idea. Pick one thing every day and try and make that better. Just start with that.
Right.
And so I'm looking at these guitars. It was actually right in the kind of the aftermath of us relaunching our 800 series guitars back in 2014, I guess. And you know, a week goes by after a winter NAMM show, and I'm back in the workshop because most of the time it's it's business as usual. You chop wood, carry water, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, well, man, if we just did everything that we could do to make this guitar wonderful, what now? How do I make this better? How do I make an even better guitar than we did? Okay, well, I know I can't just throw more at it. I can't just keep tweaking the same thing. That's not going to work. I've gotten what we can get out of this. I've pushed it as far as it could go.
And if you change just for the sake of change, sometimes you move out of your sweet spot. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, change just for the sake of change is not worth making.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You don't want to change something just to be different about it. You know, you want to make change for a legitimate reason.
So what were you trying to accomplish when you tackled this?
In this case, I wanted more expressive range. Okay. So you could say, well, I want the guitar to sound better. Okay. Well, what is that? How do you quantify that? That's a real elusive thing. Try and make a better sounding guitar. Well, okay. For me, I need to break it into smaller parts. So I look at musical attributes, like what's useful to a musician? What is expressive range? I look at the volume, or the dynamic range. Okay. I look at the sustain. How long can the note last? How about the balance between the notes? The harmony between the notes, the projection. All of those are fairly objective criteria.
You can put your finger on it.
Yeah, you can measure it.
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, I want to make a guitar that has more volume and more sustain. Those are two really important attributes. They're really useful no matter what kind of music you're playing. So I thought, okay, well, I'm struggling with those two things because as a guitar maker, I know that sustain, or the length of the note, comes from how strong, like physically strong and rigid a design is. So you imagine an electric guitar. You stretch a string across it, that note will stay in motion for a long time. That's where you build sustain from, is from rigidity. And I know that volume is like the other end of this spectrum, where volume is air pressure, really, right? That's what hits our eardrums. Okay, so in order to make a change in air pressure, I need something that's flexible. So imagine a drum head. Okay, you hit that drum and it'll explode with a huge amount of volume because of this inherent flexibility, but the note is over like that. It's just gone. So I have kind of these two opposite ends of a spectrum where volume is coming from how flexible something is, and the length of the note is coming from how strong it is, or inflexible. You can see really quick, okay, well, there's a compromise point in the middle that you're going to choose. You have to choose something.
Mm-hmm.
That was a real frustration to me. So I was thinking about that a lot, and I had a couple of experiences, mostly from observing the ocean. I'm a lifelong ocean fanatic, and I know I'm not the only person to have tried to engineer something inspired by the natural world around
Nature.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's entire fields of study that are focused solely on that discipline. Mm-hmm. And so I had these couple of experiences and thought, well, I want to try and capture what I'm seeing here at this one particular surf break on a nice weather day with good riding surf. So I literally want to duplicate this in a guitar, because if I did this, I could fix this compromise.
Well, that's interesting. I'm sure most people wouldn't make that connection.
It's possible, but to me, it seems logical.
That's how your mind works. Right?
Yeah, it's you kind of get you take what's right in front of you.
Sure.
That's the experience that we get.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to the shop and thought, okay, I'm going to scrap all of what I've done and just try this. I'm going to try this once. And I got about halfway through building this first guitar and went, oh my gosh, this is actually going to do what I thought it was going to do. And if that's true, if this actually will work the way I think it's going to work, that means that all of these other, like, seemingly unrelated parts could fit right in this puzzle to make this picture. So yeah, I got a note that would last a long time, long sustain. It has a tremendous amount of volume. But what I realized I could control in the wake of that was the intonation of the guitar. Now, that's kind of, those seem like they're puzzle pieces that don't want to fit together, because normally in the guitar world, we think of intonation as equating to string compensation. So string compensation would be kind of the cheating that we do with a saddle or a nut or a fret spacing to account for the stretch effect that happens when you press a string down to the fret. Mm-hmm. You press it down, it goes a little sharp, so you cheat things to get it to play in tune.
Right.
Well, that's only part of what intonation is. Because intonation, that word actually is defined as the state of intuneness, or how accurate are the pitches that you play, the actual notes. So what I realized was that when I had control to make a really orderly and very responsive guitar body, it was like the entire body became a super fluent translator of everything that was going on in a string. So rather than me playing a note and this guitar body giving me the kind of the closest version that it could, which isn't all that close,
Right.
This thing would reflect everything that was going on. So the entire harmonic content, the overtone series, the richness from all these tone woods, all this stuff got reflected. And what I heard was notes that had this beautiful harmony between them. So if I play even simple triads, like high on a fingerboard up here in treacherous territory, every single note, every single chord will be perfectly in tune, without beating, without warbling, without any sourness, anywhere on the guitar. Even simple open position chords now have a level of harmony that they haven't had before. So you imagine what that means for a musician who's playing with other instruments. Maybe computer-generated sounds, keyboards, synthesizers in a recording environment. Mm-hmm. This is a guitar that plays better with others. It opens up all kinds of new range of where you could play chords, how you could voice them. You play things that normally don't want to work well on a guitar. Even single notes have a level of effortless.
It sustains.
Yeah,
and
it's
you
just.
can hear that. You don't hear that in a traditional acoustic.
No, it's just not there.
Yeah.
It's like this turned into an almost. It's like an orchestral quality instrument. Yeah. So now every single note over the whole guitar, over the whole register, has this responsive dynamic range, this length of note, and this accuracy of pitch that flat top guitars just haven't really enjoyed.
Right. That's quite a journey, though, that you've been.
Yeah, it's been exciting. It's been a couple of years in the making, though.
Yeah, Yeah,
You know,
I can imagine. Wow.
I mean,
yeah.
literally, this first guitar I built behind my house, I have a workshop that I built because I like making stuff. And so I started building this guitar and went, yeah, I better not let anybody see this. They're going to label me a heretic if I try this. And even there was a guy who heard an early version of this, who works in our shop, and he played it, listened to it, and told me to burn it and not let anybody see
Really?
it. It's like, you just opened Pandora's box. I don't know what to do with this.
That's funny. That's funny. So let me ask you something. What kind of impact do you expect this to have, not only on the player, and some of that you've kind of touched on, but the industry? Because this is innovation that is way out ahead of what anybody else is doing, correct?
Yeah, I've never seen anybody try something like this.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, I don't think it's for me to know what impact it totally has. Time will tell. Musicians are the ones who decide that.
Right.
You know, we don't get to decide what people do or don't do with something. What I can do as a guitar maker is give musicians an instrument that expands their potential creativity. So I can give them something that has better dynamic range, that has better sustain, that has a level of in-tuneness that they haven't enjoyed before. And I can show them, wow, you can go in these new directions. You can do all kinds of crazy things that you haven't done before.
Yeah. So you're not.
But then it's up to the musician to take that and run with it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the same way, you think of Leo Fender. You go, oh, when he designed the Stratocaster, I'm pretty sure he did not have Jimi Hendrix in mind.
No, exactly.
But I'm sure glad he did what he did,
Right.
so that we could listen to Jimi Hendrix and think, wow, none of this would have existed.
Right. Yeah.
This is pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's exactly
You
right.
know, that's kind of what musical history is like.
Yeah.
You know, you go a long ways back and look at Cristoforti in kind of developing the modern piano out of the harpsichord. Wow, look at the impact that had on kind of
transformation.
The course of mankind and our composition.
Yeah.
You know, that ushers in the Romantic era music. Like, all kinds of stuff happens from it.
Yeah.
You look at the early electric guitar pioneers. They could not have predicted what musicians would do with that. But it's always this two-way street of a maker trying to respond to what musicians are asking for,
Right.
and giving them something that they can use, and then a creative musician taking that tool, that piece, and going and expanding their own vocabulary.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up Leo Fender because, you know, his wife, when he died, not his original wife, but she just wrote a book about him. It was a biography. You probably already read it. And he didn't care. He was a very quiet man, and he was kind of like you're describing yourself, always in the shop, right?
Totally.
He didn't really come out and visit with visitors who came to look at the plant, but he always wanted to talk to the artists. Because he wanted to know what they were feeling, how it was working, and what could be done to make it even better. That's where he was getting his inspiration. So,
yeah, this is real similar. I mean, there's a list of guys that I work with, I talk to all the time, and even myself as a player, I want to know how the instrument's working.
Yeah.
I want to know, how are people using their instruments? What kind of environments are they playing in?
Yeah.
What songs are they playing? What context? What's your band like? What instruments are you combining this with? It's been really interesting to see how these guitars perform in a recording studio, or even like a bedroom recording studio. I mean, a lot of the music that we hear now is recorded in a lot of different environments.
Sure, yeah, because you have the technology to do it anyway.
It's right there.
Right.
And so you look at even 10 years ago, well, most records were still made in a big studio and put out on compact discs, distributed by record labels and things like that. And now a lot of the music that you hear, you'll listen to it on YouTube.
That's right.
It's somebody in their bedroom making a really interesting recording and doing some really creative stuff. And that's totally valid. That's a totally appropriate creative outlet for a lot of musicians. And so I look at a guitar like this and go, wow, because of the unique projection qualities of this guitar, the unique ability to play in tune with looping stations and synthesizers and all these things, this is an instrument that a lot of musicians could find very useful.
Well, it sounds fantastic. Now, let me ask this question. as I read the press release, this was going to be launched in the beginning on the, I believe, the guitar builders group.
Yeah.
And of course the auditorium.
Yeah,
group,
it's in
right?
the grand auditorium body shapes for now.
So that's for now, but will ultimately the line transform all the lines within the Taylor?
Yeah,
Okay.
I expect that in the coming weeks, months, years,
It'll
we're going to
ultimately
see
transform.
this kind of this operating system.
Right. Does
Migrate
one product
into a lot of guitars.
Does one product compete with the other though? While you still have the traditional X bracing, and now you've got the
Yeah,
new.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
There might be some of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I love when musicians pick an instrument that they like to play.
Right.
Whether we made it or whether somebody else made it.
Sure.
I want them to have an instrument that they love. So if they have an instrument that they've been playing that one guitar for 20 years and they love that, that's wonderful to me.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, and musicians never have just one guitar or one
That's
manufacturer, so
true.
you don't have to worry about somebody, not buying Taylor because they may have a guitar from somebody else that they like.
No, it's it really is on the guitar has to hold its own.
Yeah. all
If
right.
it suits the needs of a musician, that's a job well done.
And probably
that's a guitar that's worth playing.
Different songs, different feeling in a song might dictate the guitar that they put in their hand, right?
Yeah, oftentimes.
Yeah, because you don't see anybody, on stage that's performing that band and that guitar player is playing one guitar. There's a whole lineup of guitars behind it.
It's true. The unique sonority from all these different instruments, they have a certain personality and a certain voice.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I'm so thrilled about as a builder is this particular kind of engine, this, call it operating system or internal architecture or what have you. It allows me a lot of latitude to experiment with different tone woods, to exploit it and tune it to give a lot of different sonorities, a lot of different flavors, if you will, to suit different musical styles and different tastes. So there's it's a pretty big wide world ahead of us.
Well, that's great.
It's an exciting day.
It truly is. Let me, if I may, we're probably going to go ahead and wrap shortly because
All right.
I know you've got a lot going on and we appreciate the time you've given us.
It's my pleasure.
But just curious in terms of design and product development, it looks like Taylor has a long history of innovation and constantly rolling out new products for the reasons that you said. As a publication that focuses on female artists that are aspiring, do you guys see yourself, first of all, do you have anything that you would point to right now, for our fans that listen and read our publication that is kind of friendly to females? And if you do or you don't, do you see that fitting into some of your product development as you go down the future?
Well, yeah,
the future?
I want everybody to be playing instruments. I mean, I think everybody should have accessibility to that musicality. That's part of the human experience to me.
Mm-hmm.
And whether, I guess it doesn't really even matter what gender somebody is when they want to play.
Yeah.
Comfort is comfort. Like this
Sure.
guitar in particular,
Well,
I really like. This is what we call the Builder's Edition.
Yes.
To me, when I build a guitar and I want to make it better, there's only two ways I can do it. I can make it sound better or I can make it feel better.
Right.
Everything you do as a
Exactly.
guitar maker is going to fall into one of those two buckets.
Right.
So this guitar, it's a grand auditorium body shape, which is, it's in the world of guitar sizes, I guess it's not small and it's not large. It's kind of right in the middle.
Right. And it's
But
got a very slender neck, so
real
just about
slim
any
neck.
size hand can get comfortable with that.
Totally, real low, comfortable action.
Mhm.
But I look at
You
something
got the
like that
comfort.
with this
And this is
armrest.
a Taylor original, right? Because we're seeing this out on the floor now, but I
Yeah, we're
believe
seeing-
this was a Taylor innovation.
Well, it really, there was a couple of small builders that did this a long
Okay.
time ago.
Mhm.
So you look at guys like Grit Laskin who are doing this. His shape is a little different, but he did a beautiful job of it a long time ago. Kevin Ryan started doing one like this. It's just really tricky woodworking. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I look at something like that and go, well, that makes the guitar feel way more comfortable. I took that idea to all the edges of this guitar.
I noticed that on this one.
So that everything has this kind of chamfered violin-like edge treatment
Right.
that sits real comfortably on you. Okay, this whole cutaway business here, that's kind of like taking this armrest idea all the way to the left hand.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
now I can
right.
get all the way to the end of the fingerboard and have it comfortable.
Yeah, you've taken
So-
off the sharp edges.
Yeah, it's like
On the
I don't
entire
like
guitar.
I don't like touching sharp things.
Sure.
Usually when I do that, I end up with a scar
Or
somewhere.
at least a crease, right? Like a crease
Yeah.
under your arm. That
Yeah,
always
totally.
happens to me.
So I look at those kinds of things and go, well, no matter whether the player was a female or male or tall or short or whatever, that's comfortable.
Sure.
It makes
Yeah.
the music making experience a little better.
Well, why don't we close with you just playing some of that wonderful instrumental that you do on the acoustic? Thank you very much, Andy. Nice to see you.
It's my pleasure.
And good luck at the rest on the